Hello everyone! I'm still not feeling great, but I'm gonna plow through this assignment description. Excuse the sniffles and stuff like that, but I'm gonna do this, so bear with me. Alright, so we're talking about our ethical evaluation paper. This one is due Sunday, April 7th, so you have a little over a month to work on this. It's 1,200 to 1,500 words. It's 13% of your final grade. You do need 5 sources for this, so it's a little research heavy. And you're going to cite those 5 sources in APA. Document design is 12 point, same sort of thing. You open up Word, blah, blah, blah. Same thing we've always done. Acceptable file types, again, same thing we've always done. All right, let's talk about what this assignment actually is. So when you evaluate anything, you run it through, and I'm reading this from the assignment description that you can find on the Files tab or the Assignments tab. When you evaluate anything, you run it through a mental checklist of predetermined criteria. Sometimes the object, event, or even person you're evaluating meets or exceeds a criteria you've had in mind. Other times, it falls short. We do this often, like if you go to a restaurant and you're like, oh, I want a really good steak. And you get a great steak. Maybe you get a better steak than you were thinking. Maybe you order a steak and it's like overdone or it just doesn't taste right. Those either meet, exceed, or fall short of your predetermined criteria in your head of what a great steak should be. And so you have these sort of evaluative ideas already going on. And so that's when you kind of put those into play in these moments. So that's kind of what we're doing here. But we're choosing a different topic. You're not writing about steak, don't worry. Even though that would be fun. All right. So for this assignment, you'll select an idea we've been discussing this semester. Create criteria on which to perform a rhetorical analysis, which you've probably heard of in your English 111 or other courses, ethos, pathos, and logos, and effectively argue whether this idea is valid. For example, if I were writing this paper, I might choose the idea of driverless vehicles. Ethically, or using ethos, I might argue that I support the idea because I think driverless vehicles are able to remove the human factor of guesswork from operating a vehicle. Emotionally, or using pathos, I might argue that I'm enthusiastic about the possibility of their development. Remember, emotion doesn't have to be happy or sad. It can be a range of emotions. Logic, or using logos, I might interrogate the possibility of my son never having to learn to drive and what that means for an entire generation of drivers. In order to make each of these arguments, you'll need to support them with well-researched articles and other sources. You'll need to incorporate a minimum of 5 academically valid sources. What in the world does that mean? These do not have to be all academic journal articles, but they should be ones that we might use in class discussions. You cannot, though, use Wikipedia, blogs, or unvalidated websites. Use your previous knowledge about how to spot accurate and valid source material. If you have a question about whether you should use a source, just ask me. Alright, so in effective arguments, you'll need to present an opposing argument. This type of presentation demonstrates you're a responsible writer. You should use at least 2 sources in this section of your paper. So you've got 5 sources to use. 2 sources should definitely go in your opposing argument section. That's the minimum. So make sure you do reserve 2 sources for that opposing argument section. That's important. The framework. This is how you should set up your paper. You're going to have the intro, in which you present your idea, presents the issue that you're going to be arguing. It shows why evaluating your topic is problematic or controversial, and it prevents your evaluation claim and your criteria. So you're going to say, this is what I think, this is what I think about this topic, and here's a criteria by which I'm going to evaluate it. Again, going back to that simple steak idea, I want it to be a good cut meat. I don't want to be too gristly. I anticipate it being cooked, good medium rare, so it's, a nice, nice cool pink, pink red in the middle. I anticipate it being seasoned well, not too over seasoned, stuff like that. And again, so I'm kind of explaining what my criteria is. Then you're going to go into the argument. You're going to state criteria 1 and defend it. And you're going to show that your topic meets or does not meet the criteria. You're going to state criteria 2 and defend it if necessary. And again, you're going to show that it meets or exceeds criteria 2. Then you're going to continue with however many criteria that you have. Then you're going to move into your opposing or alternate view section. This is where you're going to summarize your objections in your criteria or your match, and you're going to respond to these objections. So you're going to say, okay, this is what the opposing view says, but I'm going to say, here's why my point of view is better, right? So you're really going to show that those exist, but you're going to say, okay, while they exist, and while some of them are valid and interesting, here's why my perspective is different or more effective. And then your conclusion is going to sum up your evaluation. As with all the writing this semester, I'm using the English 212 rubric. For this paper specifically, I'll look at how closely at your effective use of sources, the use of the framework, and how clearly you articulate your arguments. All right, so that's our ethical evaluation paper. We'll talk a little bit more probably about that in one of our updates coming up. But if you have questions, please shoot me an email. I'd be happy to help you out. All right, bye.